Welcome to the Ninja X Show. Today's topic, my reaction to There Is No Right Girl, Unicorns Don't Exist, MGTOW video. As much as MGTOW says they don't hate women and that they're only going their own way in order to better themselves, their videos seem to contradict that claim. What's the point of joining MGTOW when they're just focused on women? Wasn't the point of MGTOW is to focus on themselves and forget about women? Because all I see is criticism of women. Anyways, I'm going to react to each dumb comment he makes.
Easily, the biggest divide in the MGTOW community is the concept of all women are like that. There are men who have accepted female nature in its totality, and there are still a lot of men who believe that some women can overcome female nature. These men hold out hope that not all women can be as basic and superficial as the rest, because it would simply be too depressing. A world without hope of progressing from the animal reproductive strategies that govern our species.
That govern our species, female nature. You act as if men and women are some type of animal. You sound like some paranoid beta male virgin who has had a hard time with women, probably due to getting rejected by many of them. Here's a tip, dude. Flip the script and become badass. Women are into badasses. They're not attracted to whiny beta male losers who don't have their shit together.
Embracing that reality is exactly how you overcome that last barrier to reaching freedom from the mating game and female validation. Believing that not all women are like that, or NAWALT, is the elevation of female nature to something it can never be. It is conflating it with male nature, where men can overcome their biology with intangible things like morality, pride, and discipline. Accepting that all women are like that doesn't mean that every woman is a cheating whore. It means that they have the capability of being one. It may seem obvious, but it's powerful to admit that she is subject to flaws.
Damn, you sound like a whiny ass pansy. Here's the real truth. Not all women are the same. Every woman is different. To say that all women are the same is just like saying all men are the same, which is completely untrue since men and women have different personalities. For example, when it comes to women, some are nice, some are cruel, some are smart, some are dumb. Some are ugly, some are pretty, some are liberal, some are conservative, some are Christian, some are atheist, some are strong, some are weak, some are skinny, some are fat, some work, and some are parents. The same thing applies to men. Main point being is that everybody is different. Everybody has their flaws. No one is perfect. You can't expect every woman to be a nun or a virgin. And sure, the first two women I slept with were virgins when I met them. Not at the same time, of course. I was just lucky to have met them back when I was a teenager. But that's besides the point. Either way, I won't be judgmental of women who have slept with several men. I'm also not judgmental towards women who happen to be single mothers. No one is perfect. Besides, it would be hypocritical for a man to judge a woman by her past when he himself has slept with several women or he happens to be a single father. It's like I said, no one is perfect. For example, if I were a single father, I would not want a woman to reject me for making a kid with a woman I've slept with in the past. People make mistakes.
Just like it's drilled into every man that he has the potential to be a vicious animal under certain circumstances, it's equally applicable for women to engage in their hypergamous instincts under certain circumstances. Men often elevate women to be beyond the human flaws that everyone else has, and realizing that they're as flawed or more so than the average man is the first step to accepting AWOLT.
Most of the women I've had relationships with aren't hypergamous, you dumb cuck. For example, my ex-girlfriend's mother spoiled me with gifts. I also dated a woman who made more money than me, so she had no problem paying for my meal or spoiling me with gifts. I also had a relationship with a hot redhead who was very rich. I had no idea she was rich until a few months into the relationship. Point being that it does not matter if a man is rich or poor. Women date whoever they're attracted to.
There are a couple scenarios that we see come up often in the community that try to prove NAWALT, but we're going to debunk those today. The most common one is the belief that a Western man can travel abroad and find a woman from a poor country and rescue her from a life of poverty and create a family with her. There are two big flaws with this theory. The first is that you certainly can do that, but just because she comes from a traditional background doesn't mean she still isn't a woman.
Doesn't mean she still isn't a woman. Do you realize how dumb you sound right now? Dude, of course she's a woman. What, do you expect her to be a man or a trans woman? If so, maybe you ought to date a man or a trans woman who thinks like a man.
She will still have to deal with temptation when she encounters a man who is taller or wealthier or more muscular. She will still be tempted to monkey branch if you were to lose your job or fall ill or suffer an injury. She will still be naturally unattracted when you show any signs of weakness or vulnerability. She may not act on these hypergamous instincts, but they are still there regardless.
Oh yeah? How would you know? Are you a psychiatrist? Because it sounds to me you're paranoid and full of shit. I know a woman who is very faithful to her husband. Many men had tried to get her to cheat, but she rejected every single one of them, even to the point of exposing these morons on her Facebook page via screenshots. I also know a woman who is dating a man who is old as fuck. She could have had someone young and good looking, but she remains faithful to the old man. Reason being is that she loves him. Many guys had attempted to get with her, but failed and got exposed for it on her Instagram account. But go ahead, continue believing that all women are hypogamous. That kind of paranoid delusion is exactly why you're still a failure with women. Want my advice? Grow up and stop acting like a whiny beta male.
The second flaw in this theory is that her femininity is defined by her community. If you go to a different country, her culture might shame promiscuity or adultery, so she may control it artificially to avoid being ostracized. If you bring her back to your home country, the worst traits of female nature will be unleashed on you.
Again, how would you know? Are you a psychiatrist? Do you have any evidence at all to back this up? Because it sounds to me you're full of shit. I've already pointed out in my earlier comments that I know a few women who are faithful to men they're with. So unless you know every single woman on this planet, which is half the population by the way, you really don't know what you're talking about.
She isn't a unicorn, she just learned how to hide her true nature. Trying to cheat the system and work around biology is a clever way to try and solve the problem, but it doesn't do anything except expose you to what every man who interacts with women will eventually encounter.
I don't expect women to be unicorns since I'm not into bestiality. Are you one of those creeps who masturbates to My Little Pony? Do you fuck a horse and put a unicorn on their head? If so, that's disgusting and you should probably seek help for your mental health because from the sounds of it, you want to fuck unicorns.
The next example of unicorn hunting comes with finding virgins. I have some personal experience with this, and I'll tell you that it really has no effect. If you find a virgin, a rare species in today's society, it does help initially at the start of the relationship because of the stronger pair bonding mechanism that she has with you, but it isn't strong enough to fight the constant 24/7 barrage of sex and drugs and hookup culture that she is exposed to. Eventually, she will become curious as to what she is missing out on, and there really isn't anything you can do to stop that.
Like I said earlier, I fucked two women who were virgins back when I was a teenager. We broke up on good terms. Either way, I definitely could have married the first one if I wanted to. I wish Facebook was around back then because that would have made it easier for me to stay in touch with one of them. But unfortunately, Facebook wasn't invented until 2007, I think.
No amount of game or passing shit tests will get the idea of the grass being greener out of her mind. The most frustrating mistake of trying to prove not all women are like that is going for girls below your own sexual marketplace value. Logically, you would think that she would appreciate being with a higher quality partner, and that would reflect in her attitude and treatment of you. Instead, what tends to happen is that she is conflicted between self-consciousness and anxiety as she thinks she is unworthy of you and that you will leave her for a better woman, as well as the ego boost that she can in fact land a higher quality partner than her sexual marketplace value should allow. One of those two scenarios will eventually end the relationship. Either her self-doubt will become unbearable and her paranoia will drive you away, or she will act on her hypergamous instincts to try and monkey branch.
This is completely untrue. My uncle is a higher quality man who was married to a fat, ugly woman. He could have had any woman he wanted, but he chose her because he loves her. She died back in the early 2000s. However, she was always faithful to him. She knew how lucky she was to be with him. She was not paranoid, and she did not monkey branch.
The split in the community really shows itself in the attitudes of the men. Most will claim all women are useless sluts, and others, mostly older guys, will claim that the majority of the women have ruined the gender relations for the minority of good women out there. There are good points in both arguments, as well as flaws, so we should try to bring them together into what really is the case for female nature.
Again, with this stupid female nature nonsense you keep bringing up, there is no such thing as female nature. There is only human nature. No man or woman is perfect, but that doesn't mean they can't change or start bettering themselves. Trust me, I know an autistic dude who went from being clueless to becoming a badass. I don't know how he did it. I just know that he shredded his loser skin and became a badass, which allowed him to date many gorgeous looking women. Even his enemies are mad at the fact that an autistic man could date some of the finest women, while they, on the other hand, date trashy looking women.
Most women are useless, as the more vocal crowd says, but not all. But this also is not an admission that those few who aren't completely useless are in any way as useful as a man. The older guys who believe that there are some good women left hiding under a rock, waiting to be found, fail to understand that these women are chameleons, blending into the conservative parts of the country or hiding their histories from the men they interact with. These wholesome women will easily throw that supposed purity aside for a chance at a man with a high SMV.
You think all women are bad? You think all women are chameleons? What are you, their psychiatrist? You don't know every single woman on this planet. It's impossible to know half the world's population. Everybody is different. But for you to sit there and say that every woman is exactly the same because of female nature makes you sound like a completely paranoid, moronic loser who sucks with women.
Even if you were to find a woman from a stable household that has stable friends and is sheltered from the cancerous culture and has positive influences in life, you still have to deal with shit tests and all the drama that comes with it. Just because she may not be promiscuous, she still is subconsciously searching for the best mate, so you have to constantly prove yourself to her. She will never love you for who you are, only for what you can do for her. That doesn't sound like a unicorn to me.
Obviously, you've never had a relationship with a conservative Christian woman. I had the best relationship with my ex-girlfriend's mother. We were only together for about 2 years, but she certainly loves and she still does. We still keep in contact with each other. The only reason we're not together is because she had to take care of her daughter in Texas. Her daughter refused to move back to Grand Rapids because of what happened to her, since the daughter was raped by a group of men while walking by herself late at night, trying to get back to her dad's house. She decided to move back with her mom in Texas, since it's safer to live in Texas than in Grand Rapids, Michigan. My ex-girlfriend's mom used to always visit her daughters in Michigan. She would get a free airplane ride thanks to her brother who works for the airline, but she stopped getting free airplane rides in 2011 when her brother got fired, which sucks because I love seeing her every chance I get. Either way, we ended on good terms. As for unicorns, no woman on the planet are unicorns. I find it disgusting that you want to fuck unicorns. Bestiality is fucking gross and you should be ashamed.
There is no right girl for you. You will always be fighting with her instincts because Mother Nature is ruthless and unforgiving. You may be able to override your biological urges to mate with multiple women and instead create an emotional connection with one woman, but that isn't how nature designed us. You can overcome that instinct because you can access something within yourself, a desire to change the rules that nature bestowed upon you, but you can't expect her to do the same.
You say there's no right girl, yet I know many men who have met the right girl and are very happy in their relationships with them. I think your problem is that you confuse women with unicorns. The reality is unicorns don't exist, but the right woman definitely exists. However, since you are only looking for unicorns, you're better off jerking off to images of unicorns.
Once you accept that there are no unicorns, there is no woman out there waiting for you to find her, you can start to move forward as a MGTOW. You may face a crippling depression or an uncontrollable rage as your purpose and hope for settling down is crushed. We will continue to explore what comes after that realization on this channel, but just know that there is a purpose beyond reproduction. The difference is that you have to create it for yourself. It isn't given to you. That's for each of you to figure out on your own. But the fact that you're entertaining the idea of life beyond a wife, or have already come to that conclusion, puts you ahead of literally billions of people.
Billions of people? You don't know what billions of people are going through. It's impossible to know. I know many people who are happily married or are in a successful relationship. Just because you haven't found it doesn't mean that others have not found it either. You live in a bubble full of delusions, denial, and false assumptions. It's called the MGTOW bubble, where they believe that there are no right woman. However, there are billions of people who live outside this very small bubble because, unlike you, they're not pathetic losers living in their mother's basement. They are living their happy lives outside this bubble because the bubble you live in is lonely, dark, gloomy, and full of despair. No one in the right mind wants to live in this horrible, depressing MGTOW bubble. But go ahead, keep living in that bubble. It's not going to make you happy. It's just gonna keep making your life boring and depressing.
The test for how committed you are to your individuality and freedom is to think of what you would do if you lived in a different time. If you lived in the 40s or 50s, would you still be a MGTOW? If you go further back in time, when gender relations were traditional, would you still go your own way? Or are you just MGTOW because of how bad things are? If you use MGTOW as a reaction, you can still reap many of the rewards that the philosophy gives, but you'll always have that yearning for times past and the sadness and anger that comes with looking at what we have today. If you reach the place where you understand that you would always be MGTOW because female nature is universal, you can begin to reach the peace of mind that this channel was designed to spread.
Wow, you sound pathetic. You want to live in a traditional world? The 40s and 50s were a bad time for minorities and women, since minorities and women were treated like second class citizens. They were treated like shit because of skin color and gender. Yet you want to go back to that? I have a feeling that you have a Nazi tattoo or a KKK hoodie. I also have a feeling that you're at least 90 years old, despite sounding like a beta male cuck in his 20s. Whatever the case may be, only racist, sexist bigots want to live in the 40s and 50s. I may be anti SJW, but I'm also anti bigotry. So I certainly do not want things to go back to the 40s and 50s, especially since I'm a mixed race Latino and I support women's rights. Ever seen La Bamba? It's on Amazon Prime right now. Donna's father in the movie did not approve of his daughter dating Richie Valens because he's a Latino man. That's how bad the 1950s were. Speaking of Richie Valens, he died at the age of 17 in a plane crash. It is a tragedy for a Latino man like him to die so young and not get a chance to marry his high school sweetheart, but that's a whole different subject. Point being that the 1940s and 1950s were bad times. Nobody wants to relive it because the laws were unfair to women and people of color. The only thing your channel spreads is lies and propaganda. Anyways, that's the end of my reaction to his video. I think he has a lot of issues that he has not worked out with himself. He seems delusional and frustrated over women who won't give him a chance. So he assumes all women are bad and cannot be trusted. He spreads misleading information about women. He also has an unhealthy obsession with unicorns. He obviously lacks any self worth, so the only way he feels accepted is by joining MGTOW, which makes him pathetic. That's all I have to say. Tune in next time for more truth, logic, and common sense.